Hello, and what we're going to be looking at today are three different areas. We're going to be looking at variables, we're going to be looking at user input, and then using both of those within a function like you have done previously. So variables can be created really easily. We can create a variable called number1 and assign it the value of 54. We could create a variable called text and assign it hello. We could create a variable called shoe size and give it the number 12. Note that text has got it in quotation marks, so it's treated as a string. String is a piece of text, is a group of characters or letters which need to be treated as a word. These are integers, these are whole numbers. If we were going to have a different one, so we could say child's shoe size, and that is going to be 15.5. And what the 0.5 means is that it's not going to be an integer, it's going to be something called a float. And what floats do, floats are essentially numbers which have got decimal points in, and they can be very, very useful for when you have to model different situations. We can create other variables. For example, we could create one variable called answer, and the value of answer is num1 plus shoe size. If I could spell, that would also be fantastic. And then at the moment, if we just F5 that, it's not going to display anything because we've not told it to. We need to make sure that we print it off. So print answer. At which point if we F5 that, we see that the answer of num1 54 plus shoe size, which is 12, is 66. These are all very helpful when you need to perform mathematical operations such as adding variables, subtracting variables from each other. Now we're going to look at a bit of user input. We can say input, what is your name? Okay, and then what this will quite easily nicely do over here, it'll ask you what your name is, when we can say our name is Bob, but that's it. Okay, you can have int input, how old are you? And what this int here does is whatever the reply we get, whatever the user input we get, is going to be in the form of an integer, in the form of a number. You can also put a float at the beginning, and then this will be treated as a float. So if you want to use, take the information just as a string, as a piece of text, just write input. If you want to have it as a whole number, write the word int before it, and if you want it involving decimal points, use the word float. So we're going to just go with int because we're only going to be dealing with people with whole years. And then what we can do is we can print. But oh no, we can't print anything, can we? Because we can't print the input. So we can create a variable called name, which equals what is your name, and we're going to create age, and then we can do print name, print age. So now over in the shell, it's asked us what our name, Bob. How old are you? We're going to say with a sprightly age of 18 years old, and there we go. Nice, easy, and simple. You can then use these again later on. So if we put this into a function, and we're going to call it info. Don't forget, these all need to be indented. You can then call this information by using info, so it only runs this line of text here. So we could say Bob, we could say 18, and then it does that. What you could also do is if you want it to happen forever and ever and ever, you can keep calling it within the same function. So if the first person comes along, Bob, who's 18, and then Sally comes along, who's 27, and it keeps going on and on and on. If you ever want to exit it from something like that, press down Control and the letter C. So what we've looked at here is how to use variables, how to create variables, how to use variables with user inputs. Looking at user inputs using different types such as integer, which is whole numbers, strings, which are pieces of text, and float, which are numbers with decimal places. We've looked at printing out the value of different variables, and also we've looked at how to use them within functions. I hope you enjoyed.